Hi, I'm Phil Lamar, voice of Green Lantern in Justice League, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 234 of the Cinema Geek. I'm one of your Cinema Geeks Optimus Solo, and joining me as usual is Dan.
Hello, how's it going?
I decided to just go straight Dan that time. I didn't want to confuse myself. So we are back with some more movie talk here. If you've been paying attention recently, we did our top 10 films of 5, and before that we kind of started the look ahead to 2026 with our box office predictions, which I already feel like, man, if I could go back, I would have made this choice or that choice a little differently. But it's locked in. We're locked and loaded with our teams. We've got to see how it all plays out. So today we're going to continue our look into the future here with some more 2026 movie talk. This way, in the form of our most anticipated films of the year. Dan, we've done this quite a few times over the years. How do you attack this? Do you look forward to this episode when we do it? And kind of how are you thinking about the 2026 year in film as it could be on paper?
The way I attack it, I kind of just do a general Google search to see what are people talking about, and then Wikipedia has a great article of 2026 year in film, and kind of go through that. And I look first at directors. That's usually my go-to. If any names stick out at me, first and foremost, that's really what a lot. Look at previous years. Is there a movie that surprised me this past year? Someone I didn't know. Maybe they're having a new film come out. I try to avoid reviews. I think Sundance is happening right now. Try not to look at those just because I don't want them to get the idea or my mindset, but that's usually what I'm looking at, and kind of just the general casting and director and things of that nature, and their past history, my connection with them. Or sometimes it just if something sounds interesting or catches my eye. Last year I had Death of a Unicorn or whatever because it just sounded kind of great and so interesting, and that turned out not to be so much. So it doesn't always work out. I like this time of year. It's interesting. It's always exciting to look ahead to see what will actually be the good movie this year. You're always looking for that hidden gem of maybe there's the obvious films, but maybe there's something that you don't anticipate end up being actually making your top 10. This time last year, I don't really think. I don't know. Many of my films were my most anticipated that ended up in my top 10, maybe one or two. So we'll see.
I think last year I tried to do a better job too of keeping an eye on what that most anticipated list was for me. And so I didn't miss when they came out or something of that nature. I think like you, I often start with the director, and that's kind of the jumping off point as far as gauging my interest. And then it just depends if the rest of it fills out the kind of the total package, I guess I could say. So first director, then look at the cast or the writer and see if there's something that adds to the excitement based on that. And then typically I will, take a quick glance at the genre and the synopsis of what maybe the film is about. Sometimes there's not much information to go off of, but those kind of things can kind of be the cherry on top for separating one film from another for me. The director plays a huge part, but those other things can kind of just add a little garnish to the dish that makes it even more appetizing to me. To do some food references there, I don't know why, just randomly. But another thing that I'm going to try to avoid doing, and I think you'll probably do the same, is there's ways that things happen throughout the year that can affect this. Number one, there's a whole bunch of films that are going to come out in this year that we have no clue about at this exact juncture. There's all kinds of movies that are going to come out that we had no clue existed here in January, February of the year, and they could be on our top 10 list. It's just those surprises or those things that get announced after the fact. So we have no control over that. And then, of course, there is the films that will come out in 2026 that do not. And so I'm trying to do a better job than I have in the past of avoiding films that I'm not 100% sure are going to come out this year. Before we get into kind of how we're going to do this, Dan, after you looked through all of these different films, whether it be the websites or different lists online, etc., what's your perception of what 2026 in film might be? Do you feel like it's loaded? Do you feel like it's sparse? Do you feel like there's like a lot of a certain type of movie coming out? Like, what's your anticipation for just the year in general?
Feels like a weird year, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. Every film. I don't think there's anything here that I am like super like 10 for 10 excited for right now, because I feel like everything I'm a little excited for, there's a bit of a question about. And I don't know. I think there are some big movies. I think this will probably be a big franchise year, or I think it'll be so box office wise, because I do think there are like a lot of films that are popular, but there's a lot in a good way of movies that I just don't know. Like, I have so many questions about. I'm just not really sure. Like, a lot of people seem to be taking some big chances, and maybe that'll pay off. Maybe it won't. But
Yeah, I noticed a couple things as I was going through my list. I'm not going to give away this yet because I'm sure it'll come up in our list and we'll maybe talk about it at the end. But I was a little shocked at the sheer number of huge directors that are coming out with films supposedly this year. Like,
yeah,
it's a who's who of directors this year, possibly. And even once you get past the ones that are for sure like slotted for a date in 2026, then there's a whole bunch more that are like 2026, and you're like, my goodness, like this could be a heck of a class of best directors come the end of the year. And the other thing I was noticing was the sheer number of two different genres that kept appearing over and over again. It seems like there is a whole lot of science fiction coming out, which I'm here for. Like, that's one of my favorite genres. So it seems like there's a ton of science fiction coming out. And then there seems like there's a ton of some sort of thriller, whether it be crime thriller or like psychological thriller, like there's a lot of thrillers. And that to me is always a scary genre, because it could be just those like dime a dozen action thrillers that I feel like you get every year that are just dead on arrival for the most part. But then there can be some that are really like fascinating. So that's a genre that's really hard for me to kind of wrap my fingers or head around when it comes to like how excited I am for them. But yeah, I felt like those two genres were well represented in films that were coming out in 2026 for sure. All right. So how we're going to do this a little different than we've done it in the past. So we are going to set up a fake scenario, just because hypotheticals help make this work better in our minds, I think. So we are going to be going back and forth, picking 10 different films that we are anticipating. But instead of just going 10 through 1 like we typically do, like you would have heard us in our top 10 films of 2025, in order to kind of avoid some of the crossover or some of the films that perhaps may show up on both of our lists, which always leads to some awkward numbering as we kind of go through, and we're skipping numbers because we're trying to remember who's gone and what's already been talked about. How we're going to do this is we're going to pretend that Dan and I are both at the theater. We'll say like a huge theater with a lot of screens. And all of the films of 2026 are playing at this theater. And we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to have to go into one theater. That's the only film I'm going to get to see for the whole year is the theater that I step into. All the rest of the films are going to disappear. And I'm going to have to pick based on that. Like, these are the films that are available, which one, if I can only pay for one, I can only see one on which theater. And then I will give you that pick. And then it'll be Dan's turn to do the same thing, minus obviously the one that had already been talked about. So we're going to go back in this weird hypothetical that would never actually happen. And by the end of it, we're only going to have 20 films that we're going to be able to see in the theater. So hopefully we'll get some that we're anticipating. And maybe we can like sneak back and forth into each other's theater to see the other ones that each other pick. Like, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. So any other thoughts before we get into this, Dan?
No. Yes. Basically, it's like kind of, if we don't watch this is the only thing. Like, everything else will go away. So it's not just, it's kind of part of it too. Right. So
yeah. So
alrighty.
All right. I think I let you go first with the box office. I didn't let you. You won right to go first with the box office because you beat me last year, I believe. So I thought maybe I would go first here. Also because I think I'm going to just throw away my first pick almost, and it's not going to be anything that was on your list anyways. So it should not affect your first choice. So
All right.
I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna fly like the geek flag on this first one and just get it out of the way because I've been waiting for a certain film for like 40 years. Not quite 40 years, but it feels like it. Maybe 30 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. And I was mildly excited about it. And then I saw the trailer recently, which I haven't seen all the trailers for all the films we're going to talk about today, but this happens to be one of them. And it got me actually pretty excited for it. I have faith in Travis Knight, who did Kubo and the Two Strings and who did what, in my opinion, is the best of the live action Transformers movies with Bumblebee. And this movie will not be for everybody. It's not going to win any awards come Oscar time, probably, unless there's some like weird musical or visual effects things that it somehow gets in. But I think it's going to be fun for me, and my 10-year-old self would slap me if I didn't go see this. So I have to go see it if I only have one shot. I'm going to go see The Masters of the Universe in June because every part of my childhood says I have to.
Fair. That's fair. I have seen the trailers. I remember we're doing our box office. We're like, is this movie actually coming out? Because like you said, I feel like we've been hearing about Masters of the Universe film forever, since it first existed. And we actually seems like it's actually happening. So
not only that, but neither one of us put it on our box office list. And then the trailer drops and it has more views than like it had some sort of like crazy amount of views that broke some sort of record or that was more than the Avengers movie or something. I don't know. It was like 32 million views like in the first day or something like that. And I'm like, well, maybe I should have put this in the box office group, but at least I can get it here. So Masters of the Universe is the film I'm seeing. If I can only see one this year, what would you be seeing?
So my ears popped up a little this night because I'm like, wait, maybe you're not going where I thought you were going, but I didn't realize he has 2 films coming out this year. Yes. Because talking about long anticipated films, we're big fans of the studio that brought us movies like Kubo and the Two Strings. I love Box Trolls, and they're finally coming out with a new movie once again this year. The other Travis Knight film, apparently it's all, it is his year when it comes to movie films, and my first choice would be Wildwood. I love stop motion animation. We don't get it a whole lot. It's obviously it's hard to do, it's expensive, and doesn't necessarily always make the most money. But they have such a great track record. Even movies that I think people don't love as much, like Missing Link, I thought it was enjoyable. It was good. But Laika, is that one of those studios that when they hit really hard. Coraline, of course, Kubo, Corpse Brides. I really love Paranorman, actually, and as I mentioned, Box Trolls as well. I have not seen if there's been a trailer. I'm trying to avoid but with that pedigree, and I also think this is probably one I could potentially bring the kids to. With all that, when I looked at like most anticipated, to me, this was the first movie that came to mind. So I put that at top of the list. So Wildwood would be the first movie I've into.
Okay, excellent. And that's actually also not only has Travis Knight as the director, but it also has the same writer that has come along with him for many of the other movies. The same writing team for Kubo and quite a few of the ones that you mentioned. So I feel like the two of them together, they also are together for the Masters of the Universe, but that's like a whole different thing because you're dealing with IP and other stuff like that. So it could be a great year for Travis Knight. He's got the Masters of the Universe in June, and then he's got Wildwood in October. So I like where we're going so far. Travis Knight bandwagon. We are both on it. All
Definitely.
Right. So now they're going to let me into a second movie out of all the ones that are left. And if I could only choose one, this, I believe, was on my list last year. Or if it wasn't, it was definitely in the honorable mentions. I think it was on my list, though. I was a super big fan of The Martian, which was written by Drew Goddard, I believe, if I'm remembering right. Also involved with Cloverfield, World War Z, Bad Times at El Royale, and a few episodes Lost. I believe he's got those credits to his name. And he's teaming up with Lord and Miller, who obviously did Lego Movie 22 Jump Street cloudy with a chance of meatballs and some of the Spider-Man stuff. And I'm a huge fan of Ryan Gosling. So here's my first, I guess you can call Masters of the Universe fantasy. This will be my first straight sci-fi. This just seems like it will be incredible, and I don't have to wait too long. It's coming out in March. So I'm going with Project Hail Mary as the next one that I would for sure walk into the theater for, because it just got all of the things that I'm looking for. It's got a writer and a director that I appreciate. It's got an actor that I love. It's got a very limited cast, it seems like. So I'm down for that. It's science fiction. So it checks all the boxes for me. Project Hail Mary would be my next pick.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot of reasons excited for that. I've also heard great things about it, which I have not read. But my only concern is that I didn't like the trailer. I don't know. It didn't grab my attention. I try not to bank too much on trailers because who knows. And so it might end up being good. But I do hopefully want to see that in theater. And I think Gordon Miller, they do have a good track record. I can't think of they've done a live movie though, so we'll see.
They did 22 Jump Street.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm hopeful for that, and I think we've both brought that up in our box office draft as well.
Yeah.
So next for me, this is tough because there's a lot of different ways to go with, but kind of deciding between two. I think I'm going to go with this one just because number one thing is just curiosity, and there's a good chance I might be seeing something I've never seen before, and that surprise element I think would be a big part of this. May not be people expect me to go, but my second film, the second one I'm going to go into, is from Boots Riley, who did Sorry to Bother You, which was such a strange and interesting film in so many different ways. And he has a new film coming out called I Love Boosters. And it's basically about professional shoplifters. It has a pretty great cast centered by Keke Palmer, who and Lakeith Stanfield, Don Cheadle, Will Poultier. So a lot of Jason Ritter, a lot of great people behind this. I really enjoyed, like I said, his last movie. He's writing this as well. I have no idea what to expect because Sorry to Bother You started kind of, pretty straightforward, and then it has quite the direction it goes down. So I don't know if he's setting himself up for something like that, but I find that he's certainly a movie creator, movie maker that is looking to kind of push boundaries and do new things. And even the poster itself is kind of odd and strange. So with
poster
that,
is intriguing for sure.
Yeah. So it's basically, it says I love, and then there's like legs coming out of it, and it looks like it's changing with flying shoes. Maybe I don't even know, but I just think there are the potential of seeing something unique is the highest with this. So with that, I want to check it out. I wouldn't want to miss this, so that's why I'm putting it at my number 2 slot.
And this also is supposed to have a sci-fi edge to it, right? I think so. I try not to read too much into the synopsis of it, because I know, like I said, was Sorry to Bother You. Like, seeing that from the outside, it didn't seem like it would have that kind of twist, then it did. So right.
I'm assuming we'll get something akin to that. So I'm excited to see what he's doing.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Well, that makes my next choice be pretty straightforward. I have this one towards the top of my list for sure. And I don't think that you can pass up the opportunity too many times. I've already taken a couple chances before this, but I can't take any more chances. I got to be able to see Christopher Nolan on the big screen. So I have to pick the Odyssey, whether it's a chalk pick or not. It's Christopher Nolan, it's Matt Damon, it's Tom Holland, it's Robert Pattinson, it's Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Anne Hathaway, Charlize Theron. Like, I don't even know how you get all those people in a film and give them enough time. I don't know how that works. But I guess when you're dealing with the Odyssey, like, there's a lot of story there. So I guess we're going to consider this one. Is this one called an epic instead of a fantasy or anything like that? I think it's considered an epic. But I don't know if I haven't seen Tenet. So I do have a blind spot in the Nolan verse, I guess. But every other Nolan film I've seen, I've thought was fantastic. So This one kind of with this historical epic type deal, and I love Matt Damon, so I have to be able to see this on the big screen if I get the chance. So I'm going to go with the Odyssey for my next pick.
Yeah, I was debating over that. I was like, I don't know.
You can sneak into my theater, Dan. It's okay.
Yeah, I should probably see it, but yeah, I get it. He makes movies that are experiences, that's for sure. So
yes,
but I actually really love Troy. You know, the movie from the early 2000s.
I don't hate it.
Saw it in theaters 3 times. Wasn't not necessarily always by choice. It was just like different friend groups went.
Yeah.
So that kind of, but still, I didn't mind going. So there you go.
For sure.
That was also 20 years ago. So who knows how it holds up. But all right, my next pick again doesn't get any easier, which is a good thing, which means there's a lot of good movies coming out. But I am an unabashed fan of Aaron Sorkin. West Wing is my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite TV shows in my top 3. I even love Newsroom. I've enjoyed his films. I like Molly's Game. I actually haven't seen The Trial of Chicago 7 yet, but I actually enjoyed the movie he did regarding, I Love Lucy. But now he's returning to The Social Network with The Social Reckoning, which sounds weird. He would be doing a sequel, but it's not really a sequel. Kind of. It's a bit different. Of course, this one he's directing and writing, so that's a little different too. And obviously, a big part of The Social Network was the score, and that'll be different here. So it's going to be, I think, a different approach, but still have his case, his dialogue that he's known for. Again, another really impressive cast here. Jeremy Strong, Bill Burr, apparently, because he's showing up at all different places. But I'm interested to see the approach this takes. For those that don't know, it's about a young Facebook engineer who enlists the help of a Wall Street Journal reporter to find things that are whistleblowing with inside the secrets of Facebook. So it's more so like, it's not like a whistleblower story. I guess it'll perhaps be a little suspenseful. I don't know if it's going to have like the courtroom center that the Social Network has. We've not gotten a trailer or anything like that yet. But I think, it is coming out at the right time, certainly considering how much social media has changed since the original Social Network. It's become more prominent. So with that, I want to see what Aaron Sorkin has to say. So I will be checking that out as my 3rd film.
Yeah, there's not very many people that can claim to be a better writer in the film or TV world than Aaron Sorkin. So I definitely had this on my short list as well to try to figure out a way to see it. I think it's intriguing, especially all these years later, on how he's going to tackle it. So I am definitely interested in this one as well. I think with my next pick, it's going to prove that when you're doing your most anticipated, there's no qualifiers, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's going to make money. It doesn't matter if it's going to be successful. It doesn't matter if it's going to even be like that good or that bad, really. It's just, what are you anticipating? And so I feel like sometimes it can kind of scratch that nostalgia itch, or something that you just were a fan of at one point in your life or another. You already saw it with my Masters of the Universe pick, and I'm going to do it again here because one of my favorite book and movie series from my childhood was The Chronicles of Narnia. And I remember seeing the BBC versions of the films numerous times growing up in school, I believe, once upon a time. I know we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I know I've seen quite a few of them. I very rarely, though, ever got to the 6th book. And that's where this film is going to be handling The Magician's Nephew, which I believe is the 6th book in the series, but then also a prequel to the whole thing. So I guess it kind of makes sense if my memory is serving me right. And the other fascinating part about this, of course, is the connection with the director here, which is Greta Gerwig, who did Lady Bird, Little Women, and obviously most recently the big deal with Barbie. So I find this fascinating. This does come out 2 days after my birthday, so this could just line up perfect for like that birthday movie, I guess, that I feel like I try to do every year, even though I like to go see movies a lot. Few and far between when I can get to the theater these days. So I feel like this one might have a chance. It's coming out right during Thanksgiving. It's supposed to have a 28-day theatrical release and then be, streaming. So that's not too long to wait, even if I don't get a chance to see it in the theater. Hopefully, I'll get to see it before the end of the year. But I've always been a fan of C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia. And I don't know, I honestly, even though I was a huge fan of it, it was like the first 3 or 4 books and movies that I know the most. And I don't really remember hardly anything about The Magician's Nephew, if anything at all. So, like, I like that this will be somewhat of a new experience for me. That's also harkening back to a past experience. So I have The Magician's Nephew from the World of Narnia by Greta Gerwig as my next one.
I was going to pick that next, so you definitely sniped me there. So perfect. Again, Greta Gerwig, I love everything she's directed. Little Women, including, which is, again, a book I don't think I've ever read, but I love her approach to that. Barbie was good as well. Same, I was a huge Narnia fan, although the cartoon as a kid scared the hell out of me for some reason, mostly The Witch, but enjoyed watching I saw all the old Narnia movies in theaters, even like the ones that people forgot about.
Okay.
My only concern is that it's coming through Netflix, so
yeah,
you have a fantasy film through Netflix, what's that going to look like? Hopefully good. Well, we shall see. But yeah, that was going to be my next pick. But instead, I'll go a different direction, and similar to you all, I can't skip over Christopher Nolan anymore. I feel like I can't skip over Steven Spielberg anymore with him going back to science fiction, and I'm going to go with Disclosure Day. It's been a while since we've seen him do a film like this. I can't think of the last time we've gotten him kind of to do a movie of this genre. He's done some great ones, Close Encounters, of course, E.T., I really love War of the Worlds, actually. I know maybe not as high on with some people. Minority Report. Don't know exactly how. Disclosure Day may be the worst title of any of his films ever. He's had some movies I haven't loved, the BFG, for example, but this is, I think, the first time he's doing like a crowd pleaser in some time. Going back to that genre, the trailer was exciting enough. Again, another great cast: Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connell, Wyatt Russell, who's showing up and everything. Have that magic? I think he might. And again, it's one of those things where it's like you have the opportunity to see a science fiction film by Steven Spielberg in theaters. I don't want to miss that, so I'm going to go with that one next.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Steven Spielberg and science fiction, and you have Dave Koepp also in writing, who's done some good stuff with Carlito's Way, and I think he was involved in some Jurassic Park and Spider projects as well. Did you go? How far down on the cast list did you go, Dan? Because
not super far down.
Okay, so you got like Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor and Colin Firth and things of that nature, right? And if you keep going, eventually you get to a trio of Chavo Guerrero, Lance Archer, and Brian Cage. I don't know if real or if someone put the Joker if they're in the movie, but these are all 3 professional wrestlers, and I'm like, what are they doing in here? So, and Lance Archer and Brian Cage are gigantic people, so I'm like, well, I'm intrigued to see how they fit into all of this as well. But yeah, I mean, this could be a super pick. Like, it's Steven Spielberg. Everybody knows who he is, right?
Yeah.
But I still feel like this could be one of those films that, even though there's all these other franchise-related films, him and Nolan both have a chance of just shattering some of those from a money standpoint and a success standpoint when they come out with a film, if everything hits right. So how can you not be anticipating to see how everything works out with this film, Disclosure Day? I'm right there with you, Dan. This would have been one of my next 2 picks if it was still on the board. All right.
Over to you.
Yeah, so I have to go with this one strict because I'm not just anticipating it, but I'm also just super intrigued by it because it's something that we've never seen before, I don't believe. And also, this could be the year of Brad Pitt. Like, he has I don't know if all of the films that he's currently tied for are actually going to come out this year, but I feel like it's more than is possible again. And he's involved with one as the main character, who is my favorite character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And how do you not get intrigued by a film directed by David Fincher and written by Tarantino? Like, that's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, that's like a unicorn, right? Like I don't know what that, but I mean, David Fincher, Seven, Fight Club, Social Network, Gone Girl, and Tarantino, we all know those films, right? We did a whole series on it. And then we take Brad Pitt, who, like I said, was my favorite character from, and see where we go with it. And I am 100% there for it. It doesn't have a specific release date, but everything I've read says summer of 2026. So I feel like that's different than than if it just said like 2026 or late 2026. It says specifically this summer. So I feel like it's for sure coming out this year. And I am super intrigued on what they do with Mr. Cliff Booth. So that's going to be my next.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that, to be honest. Like, I feel like it's not a real movie. It's so weird that this is even, it's even happening. Because I remember it coming, like, the news breaking. I'm like, I don't think that's ever going to get made, but apparently it is. So, not that like I'm against it. It seems it's like you said, it's something you don't see spin-offs or like Quentin Tarantino characters getting their own movie. But
and then David Fincher involved. I mean, I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's a bit nuts. All right. Well, I want to go with someone maybe doesn't necessarily have the same pedigree, but someone's films when they hit, I think they hit really hard, and that's John Carney. Maybe he's probably like film he's done that I like the most is Sing Street, but he's done Once, Begin Again. Not everything he's done I've loved, but like I said, like Sing Street holds a special place in my heart, and his ability to like incorporate music within his movies is kind of second to none. So he's coming out with Power Ballad this year, and it's starring Paul Rudd, of course, because of course Paul Rudd. In fact, we've only said his name once. Is strange because he's in so much. And then Nick Jonas, which okay, sure, why not? But I don't know. But he can certainly sing. Maybe he has acting ability. I can't really speak to that, but it's mostly because like. Often too, like not only do you get a good movie, you tend to sometimes get songs out of it as well, especially like original songs. So if that can be an additional plus, especially too, like we have a lot of serious movies and things like that. And I think this one will probably be maybe a little serious, but maybe, tends to be a bit more like dramedy around that range. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a bigger variants. Like this could be just fine, but it also could be one of my favorite movies of the year. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I think Sing Street was great. It's listed as a musical comedy, so it should be a little bit lighter, you would think. And I love the I know you don't want to hear it, but the synopsis is talking about a conflict between a rock star and a wedding singer. So I find that to be interesting. The only problem with the Power Ballad is it comes out the same day as Masters of the Universe dance, so I literally couldn't go see both of them at the same time. So, but it was definitely
Power Ballad sounds like it could be Power Ballad sounds like a character that could exist in Masters of the Universe.
That's true. So. That's true. I think Silverhawks had someone named Melody. Like we're close. We're close. All right, I like that pick. It was definitely in my possibilities. It was on my big board, I guess you could say. For one, I'm going to stick with some sci-fi here. I've already had Project Hail Mary, and then you've talked about Disclosure Day. We've had a little bit of fantasy, I guess, with Masters of the Universe and Narnia. I'm going to stick with science fiction, and this one is not necessarily based on the director because I don't know anything about this director, except for that he is, I believe, South Korean. And the big part for me on this one is that it's science fiction, and it stars Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander. So sign me up. Yeah, the title of the movie, I believe, is called Hope. I don't know if that's the final title or whatnot. This is another one just like Cliff Booth that says summer of 26. So I guess I'm taking a slight chance, but again, all of them say summer, so okay. But it's a thriller. I just like the idea that this is going to be a South Korean film that's science fiction that also includes Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander, and those are like two of my favorite working actors. So I have to be somewhat excited for this one. So Hope is my selection.
I missed that one completely, so that's interested to see.
Snuck one in there.
That one turns. Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll sneak one in here. I don't know. I'm guessing this is probably. I don't know if it'll be on your list, but you should. I'm guessing you're aware of it. So David Lowery again is one of those directors that I have really loved some of his films, maybe some not, but I'm always intrigued by them. I'm always captivated by them, and he's always doing something that's new and interesting, or at least I feel that way. You know, he's done, of course, The Green Knight, A Ghost Story, which I did not love as much as most people, The Old Man and the Gun, which I think I like more than most people, the Pete's Dragon remake, which was much better than it had any business doing. I do really like Ain't Them Body Saints, so has a strong track record with me. And the month now this year is Mother Mary, which has the tagline "This is not a ghost story," which makes me think this is probably a ghost story. But it's about a long buried wounds rise to the surface when an iconic pop star, Mother Mary, reunites with her estranged best friend and former costume designer. Which honestly is not a synopsis that's like, that sounds amazing. Honestly, it doesn't. That doesn't sound like an interesting story, but I'm gonna guess that there's much more to it. Also, another great poster, like really, just intriguing. It's starring Anne Hathaway, who of course is a great actress. Although I feel like we haven't. She's again. You talk about how there's a lot of Brad Pitt movies coming out. A lot of Anne Hathaway, because she's also having Devil Wears Prada 2 as well. Certainly I'm guessing that'll be pretty popular. But I think this might be a better movie. I don't know. But it's just, again, I'm interested to see what David Lowery has in store, because he does a lot of things that are quite unique. And after, The Green Knight, which is not a movie I loved, but I was impressed by. So this seems very different. It doesn't, I don't know if it's going to be a genre film, or if it's straight genre film, or if it's going to be general drama, or what the case may be. But that alone has me intrigued. So be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, she's going to have a busy year for sure. She's also tied to a film called by Michael Showalter, who did The Big Sick. And I don't know if this will actually come out in 2026, but she's also tied to a film by Ron Howard, Alone at Dawn, that could potentially come out this year. So yeah, she's been super busy for sure. The problem for me with David Lowery is I really liked Ain't Them Body Saints, and I really did not like Ghost Story. And so it's been a little up and down relationship with him. I've seen some of the other ones as well, but I just am not sold if I'm a fan of his or not. So that's what's keeping me kind of a little bit on the fence.
Fair enough.
All right. Yeah, for sure. So let's go from Anne Hathaway to someone that once starred in a film with Anne Hathaway, and who is probably, again, one of my favorite actors working today, which would be Hugh Jackman. And he's got another, again, this is an epic thriller. I guess you could throw this in like the Odyssey in that epic standpoint. This movie could be terrible. I don't know. But I'm intrigued because it's Hugh Jackman, and it's because it's a completely different take on the Robin Hood tales. So this one is entitled The Death of Robin Hood, directed by Michael Sarnowski, who did Quiet Place Day One, which I had some issues, but I generally liked it. He's done some other stuff as well. But it's more about Hugh Jackman as the character of Robin Hood, but not the prototypical version of Robin Hood that we all seem to know or love, I guess. So I'm intrigued on what they do with this one. This one's also got a June 19th release date, so it seems to be pretty firm. And I'm just a fan of Robin Hood in general. I don't know if there's been a lot of different Robin Hoods. I don't know if any of them have compared to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves from my childhood. Like, that one blew me away when I was a kid. I haven't seen it that many times since, but I'm here for another round of Robin Hood in a different take. So that's why Death of Robin Hood takes my next selection.
Yeah, that was actually on my list. I was debating through that one. The director of that also did the movie Pig with Nicolas Cage, which I really quite liked. It seemed like one of those films that didn't seem like it'd be good on paper, but ended up being quite good. The idea of like doing a dark version of Robin Hood does sound, like you said, like it could go either way. But I'm interested in seeing Hugh Jackman as Robin Hood. That could work.
Yeah.
So you talked about with Masters of the Universe, it was based, because you love the original, you're looking forward to the adaptation. I'm going to go with another one that I'm simply excited for because it's based upon something I rather enjoyed a great deal, and that is Four Kids Walk into a Bank. This is based upon a comic by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss that I am a huge fan of. And as you can guess by the title, is a story about four kids that have to get placed in a situation where they kind of have to rob a bank a little bit. So I'm interested to see the approach the movie takes. The cast isn't a whole lot of well-knowns, perhaps. Liam Neeson is in it, so that is a thing, which makes me wonder, what is the direction they're taking with this? Is I'm intrigued. Frankie Shaw is the director. I don't know much about her. I looked at her from filmography. I've not seen anything she has done. But yeah, the biggest reason I am looking forward to this is because I love the original source material. It's a bit funny. It's a bit comedic. It's not super serious. It's not like a really heightened like heist film, but it's just got great style to it. I don't know how well it's going to translate to live action. I'm not really sure, but it's a great premise, so maybe it shall work. It's all going to depend upon how good the kid actors are, and I've not seen anything about it. But it's not like it's going to be a long time. This is coming out in April 17th, so it's only a few, about a month or so away. So I'm intrigued by it. I really hoping it does justice. If anything, maybe gets more people to read the comic book. But that's my next pick: is Four Kids Walk into a Bank.
Very good. I definitely looked at that one a little bit. I just don't know enough about it, not being familiar with the comic like you are. So I wasn't sure how to inform that opinion. So I'm getting into the territory where it's a little tricky because I have quite a few films on my board that don't have specific release dates that I'm trying to avoid. So I'm going to try to play it safe and go with a few that look like they have specific release dates, and I'm pretty confident they're going to come out in 2026. And then maybe I'll mention some of the ones that I was not so sure about in the honorable mention section of this episode. So my next one, I'm going to go with one that is also scheduled for a June release. That's the same as quite a few. Apparently June is going to be a decent time this year because it's Masters of the Universe, it's Disclosure Day, it's the Death of Robin Hood, it's the one of them you just mentioned, the Sing Street one. Was that it? The Power Ballad? Yes, Power Ballad. And so does this one. So June 12th. This one's just a romantic comedy though, so I'm putting it on here to get away from all of the other science fiction, fantasy, and epics that I seem to have dominating my list here. I know nothing about the director. I believe his name is Christopher Orgley. I could be saying that incorrect. I am just intrigued by this one based off of the still pictures, and I did see a trailer for this one, which again I've tried to avoid for most of them, but I did see one here, and it's got two of the best young, I guess we can still call them young, actors working today. So this is Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in the film The Drama, and all I know is that they're either about to be married or engaged or something, and they learn something about each other, and there's drama. That's why the title of the film is The Drama. And I just think I would watch these two play against each other in just about anything they were in. So I'm here for it. It's listed as a romantic comedy. I don't know if it'll be a lot comedy or a little comedy and a little bit more drama. The title's The Drama, but then you're telling me it's romantic comedy. I'm getting mixed messages, but Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, I'm here for it. So that's my next selection.
All right. Well, I think this is another one again talking about, I know this is one we talked about the box office. We both weren't sure, is this actually going to come out? Because it doesn't seem like it will be, but I'll put it here because I am still intrigued. And Zendaya, she continues in this one as well, because my next selection, I'm going to go with Dune Part 3. I really did enjoy the first two Dune movies. I actually just watched Dune 2 for the first time last year, so I was late to it, but I really enjoyed them both a great deal. Now we're seeing the conclusion of that trilogy, I believe. I think it's just only 3 movies, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Again, this is set to come out like the same day as Avengers Doomsday, which doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing, so maybe this gets pushed back. I don't know. We have not gotten really much about it at all, so there's a lot of questions. But again, having that opportunity to see this. This does feel like a movie that I want to catch this on the big screen, see this epic come to its final conclusion. Like, as you mentioned, we're getting a lot of great films from a lot of notable directors. Denis Villeneuve, which I pronounced horribly, of course, bringing this to an end. So yeah, I figured, it might be a little bit taking a shot here, and maybe it'll end up being on my most anticipated next year as well. But I'll put it here for now, and hopefully it comes out.
I think what Denis Villeneuve has done with this franchise, seeing that it had already had a film, what was that, in the early 90s or whenever that was?
80s. It was 80s.
80s, yeah, which is nothing like the films that we got with this series. It's kind of interesting how that happened. Obviously, the books are very popular as well, and the second one especially really got me intrigued to see this one as well. So this was definitely on my board also. So definitely anticipating that one. Hopefully, it does come out in 2026, but we'll have to wait and see. All right. For safety versions, I'm going to go out with my next pick as a film that comes out literally in like a week. So I know it's coming out. So I feel like that's playing it safe. And this guy has done some stuff that I have really enjoyed. He was the director for a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as Rango, which I think is just such a phenomenal film. So Gore Verbinski has a new film with Sam Rockwell, Michael Pena, and some others called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. I believe we talked about this briefly in our most anticipated list last year. And this year it is for sure coming out February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. And guess what? It's another science fiction film. So this one's listed as a science fiction action adventure comedy. And I like what he's done with different things in his kind of creative world. The only thing I've heard, because some people have obviously seen this and it does have some reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't read any of them, but I just heard that it is like bonkers, kind of crazy and fun. So that sounds like Gore Verbinski. So sign me up for this one.
I mean, great title, right? I mean, they talk about don't even need a tagline. That seems like the title gives you everything. So
yeah.
All right, I thought about that one too. Like you mentioned, Rango is so good. I need to go rewatch Rango. It's not get enough love. All right, so where do I go next? There's a lot of different options. I feel like we haven't talked about horror enough, and so let's give horror some love. And I'm going to go with Faces of Death. To be honest, I don't know. I've never watched. I don't want to say it's a remake of the original. It's more of an inspiration of the original film. It's directed by Daniel Goldhaber, who is probably best known for the movie he made, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Now he's coming out with this. And I say it's not really a remake because it's about basically someone who's in like the dark web or whatever you want to call it and sees that people are reenacting scenes from the original film and if they're real or not. I mentioned with the social reckoning, like bringing in social media, things like that. And I feel like this, of course, is going to touch upon that as well. I did think that How to Blow Up a Pipeline was quite good. So seeing this, I like the idea, seeking to like the doldrums of things like YouTube and the horrible downward spiral it can bring people. Also has a specific release date on April 12th. So I don't know. There's a lot to it. Like I said, I've not seen the original, so maybe I'll check out the original just to have more context for this before I do that, or maybe else. But I just like it seems like it has a pretty solid cast director. I don't know much about most actors that are attached to it, but I feel like that's kind of the norm when it comes to a lot of films. There's Charlie XCX, which is a name I've heard, but I have no idea who she is because I'm old. But outside of that, I don't know much about anyone else attached to it. It looks like it has a good premise. We've had a lot of great horror films over the last few years, and this was the one that stood out the most for me for this upcoming year.
Good. Yeah, it's good to give horror some love because I usually don't. So I'm glad somebody is. So for my next one, I so badly want to go with another pick, but I'm just not convinced it's going to come out this year. I know it's a broken record. So I am going to go with one that I am sure is, and I don't know if we've had any so far that are slated for August. So I'm going to go with an August film and surprise, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic film. So like I said, they're just dominating the year. And I just keep holding out hope that the guy can recapture magic. He hasn't, but maybe this is it. Like maybe this is the one that Ridley Scott like taps back into his younger self and gives us something akin to Gladiator or Alien or Blade Runner. Probably not. That was a pretty lofty bar to try to meet. Also, the writing team was involved with Nixon, Ali, and The Revenant. This stars Jacob Elordi, Josh Brolin, Guy Pearce, among some other folks. And this is, I talked about it in our box office discussion as well, but the title of the film is called The Dog Stars. It's a movie set in the aftermath of a catastrophic flu virus, which seems like it may be pretty close to home here and stuff that we just went through. And who knows what Ridley Scott's going to do with that. But I'm just hoping he can hit one more home run, like just maybe even a double, like maybe just a double. Like I'll take a double from Ridley Scott. I just don't want the foul out, the bunt foul out to the catcher is not what I'm looking for. So The Dog Stars is my last choice for our 10 most anticipated films.
Maybe just even like a hard, like, straight line, like single out, something that's like right to the hard,
sacrifice
hard.
fly, maybe.
Yeah. Even hit by pitch, like get on base, So whatever can work. Oh man, there's a lot.
What's your last one, Dan?
There's a lot to choose from, but you mentioned August. I think again, I have one animated film. I don't know if you're going to count this as an animated film, but I think I will. I'm going to go with another August pick, and I'm just also kind of intrigued, and because there was so much conversation regarding this film, because there was a lot of talk that was never going to see the light of day, but now it's actually coming out, and that is Coyote vs. Acme, coming out in August. I do love the Looney Tunes. I grew up on them. I obviously they don't have the place in pop culture that they once did, but maybe this can kind of bring that back. We actually had a pretty good movie last year with I can't even the name of it, with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, which was quite good. And we're getting this, which is a court case involving Wile E. Coyote taking Acme to court, which honestly sounds like an SNL sketch that's stretched out to a film. So I don't know if that's going to work, but apparently, like when it got shelved, there was so much conversation about like how sad people were because they thought it was actually good, and with that, it kind of got a push, and now it's actually coming out. So will it actually be good? I don't know. It's directed by Dave Green. Again, he did one of the Ninja Turtle films that I absolutely did not like at all, the Out of the Shadows. So not great there, but hey, you got to start someplace. The cast has Will Arnett, so if anything, him alone should be quite good. Also John Cena, because apparently there's a lot of wrestlers in movies this year, but I don't know. So I have high hopes. I'm not gonna say I have high hopes. I have a lot of curiosity just to see like it.
Good way to put it.
How does this turn out? Because it could turn out. We had the Space Jam remake, which was so not very good and so very forgettable. So and that can't be worse than that. That's the low bar. The high bar is, I don't even know if there's a high bar. It's actually been a great like live action animated Looney Tunes movie.
Roger Rabbit.
I mean, Roger Rabbit is the highest bar, but that's I mean, Back in Action wasn't too bad, but yeah. So,
right.
But yeah. So again, another movie. Hopefully, take my kids to. So, and it ended at 10. But yeah,
here we go.
There you go.
All right, so that's the 10 films that we would see if we could only pick those films that the other one didn't pick, and all the rest of the films have to, like, I guess, get put in the incinerator and burn up. But instead, we're going to at least list a few that we were thinking about putting on here, or ones that we were worried about that we didn't put on just because of the date-wise. So, Dan, any of them that you just weren't convinced they were coming out in 2026, or you just didn't quite have room for them in your top 10 that you want to highlight?
Resident Evil, I was interested about. Zach Krager, who did Weapons. I just, again, a movie that big, I feel like we haven't got much about it yet. I feel like that has me worried. There's some movies that I'm interested in. I mean, we didn't really talk about any of the Marvel movies. I'm not super. I don't know. I don't have any interest that much anymore. Supergirl, we'll see how that goes. But the one that probably maybe the biggest one we haven't mentioned yet would be Digger by Inarritu, mostly because I don't know, like most of his movies I don't enjoy all that much. I love The Revenant. I had a good time with that, but didn't really love Birdman. Found Babel to be quite a chore. 21 Grams similar. I don't think I've seen Beautiful yet, but it's it has Tom Cruise. Maybe it'll be good, but I'm not super excited for that. So that was one I figured we worth mentioning because it is a big director. And then the one I wasn't sure would be coming out would be the Christophers by Steven Soderbergh, but has Ian McKellen in it. So I guess this one's actually already debuted at Sundance, so I guess this one is coming out. But
it's hard to say with those. Even the ones that do Sundance, sometimes they slow play it, so it's hard.
Yeah, true.
I definitely had that one on my list as well. Any others, Dan, that you wanted to highlight?
I don't think so. Looking through this, anything else that really deserves. Jonah Hill's got like 2 movies coming out that he's directing, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
The one that I think looked like the most interesting was Outcome with Keanu Reeves, and that's about it that I could see. I don't know if there's anything I missed that you wanted to bring up.
There's a couple that I was definitely debating on. I wasn't sure if they're going to come out or not. So there is a David Ayer film who did Fury and End of Watch, and this one also stars Brad Pitt and J.K. Simmons. It's supposed to be about a Navy SEAL character. It's called Heart of the Beast. I just cannot find if for sure it's going to be coming out in 2026, so I avoided that one. I would have put this one in if 9 of my picks hadn't already been science fiction films, but J.J. Abrams has a film coming out starring Glenn Powell. It's supposed to be November 13th. It's called Ghost Rider or The Great Beyond. I don't know if I think it's Ghost Rider is the one they went with. I think The Great Beyond was an earlier working title. There's a movie by Francis Ford Coppola that, again, I can't find a specific release date. It's called Glimpses of the Moon, and it's a strange 30s style musical inspired by Leo McCarey's The Awful Truth. So if you've been paying attention with our spotlights last year, The Awful Truth is one of the Cary Grant films that I have seen. So if this is somewhat inspired by that, I am intrigued by what this will be. There's a movie entitled Saturn Return by Greg Quaidar, who did Sing Sing and Train Dreams. It was involved in both of those. Again, that one says late 2026, so that scares me. So I avoided that one. Another late 2026 was Clara and the Sun, which is a Taika Waititi film starring Amy Adams and Jenna Ortega. Guess what? Also science fiction. So there's a lot of sci-fi coming out. And then the last couple that I would mention, I am mildly anticipating Scream 7, only because I just watched all 6 of them in a row last year. And this one has the original director and writer coming back and all of the original cast, who most of them are dead in the franchise. So I don't know how that works, but it's a horror film. So they can do whatever they want, I'm pretty sure, in there. So I'm just intrigued to see like what that is. And last one I will highlight, or last 2, I guess. There's a movie entitled The Wait, which is starring Ethan Hawke and Russell Crowe. Called a historical drama, and it's set in 1930s Oregon. So that one had me somewhat interested, like if that could be like a cool period piece, or Russell Crowe's hit or miss. So it's kind of, he's like Ridley Scott. Like I don't know. So like we're waiting to see. The jury's out on that one. And then the last one, which I doubt is going to come out this year, is Martin Scorsese is supposed to have another film called What Happens at Night, but that could be this year, it could be next year, it could be 2028. You never know. And speaking of directors, Dan, like we've mentioned quite a few of them, but we have Nolan and Fincher and Spielberg and J.J. Abrams and Ridley Scott and Francis Ford Coppola, Verbinski, Sorkin, Soderbergh, Van Sant. We have Villeneuve. M. Night Shyamalan is coming out. I always say his name wrong, but he's coming out with one. We have possibly movies from Jeremy Saulnier, Robert Zemeckis, Martin McDonagh, Ron Howard, Paul Greengrass, maybe another one from Luca Guadagnino if you can get it done fast enough, potentially Terrence Malick. Like, have you ever seen a year with this many directors just all slated for films to come out?
It's a bit crazy, yeah. There's a lot of big directors, and you wonder, like, hopefully that's a good sign. And then what's great if like it ends up being the best movie from someone who's like comes out of nowhere. So
yes,
I think that's it. Be interested to see like how many of those names still have box office pull. Not that like box office matters, but just want to make sure that
right.
Movie theaters are alive. And we've seen what Christopher Nolan can do. What does Steven Spielberg? Does his name still have that type of impact? So intrigued to see how it goes. So it is shaping up like it could be a great year for film. I mean, obviously it's hard to say because obviously things can always disappoint you, but there's like we went through 20 movies, isn't that hard, and there's a lot more that we could have gone through easily. So and then you have all the things that kind of pop up out of nowhere. So
yep, absolutely. And I avoided some of those like Jeremy Saulnier, Zemeckis, McDonagh, Greengrass, and Ron Howard and Guadagnino because they're all to be determined or late 2026/early 2027. Also, Tony Gilroy, who did Andor, is kind of in that mix. So I just avoided all of them altogether because maybe there's not room for those guys to all come out with a movie in 2026 because we got a full slate here. So it's going to be a crazy year, and it seems like they're all starring about the same 9 actors. So I don't know how those actors are doing it, but they got a busy year, or they've had a couple busy years leading up to this. So that's kind of crazy. Dan, any final thoughts on 2026 in general and the films that are going to make it up?
No, do you want to run through our picks real quick, just to kind of sum it up?
Yes, absolutely. Why don't you go ahead with your 10, and then I'll follow you.
I'll go from 10 down to 1. At 10, I had Coyote versus Acme, then Faces of Death. At 8, I had Dune Part 3, and then Four Kids Walk in the Bank. At 6, Mother Mary, and then Power Ballad. At 4, the Spielberg Disclosure Day. The Social Reckoning at number 3. And then at 2, I have I Love Boosters. And number 1, I had Wildwood.
All right, let's see if I can do this without screwing up here. I believe I had this might not be in the right order. I had Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. I had The Drama, The Dog Stars, The Death of Robin Hood, Hope, The Adventures of Cliff Booth, Narnia the Magician's Nephew, The Odyssey, Project Hail Mary, and Masters of the Universe. I think I did it. All right. I wasn't writing numbers down when I was taking notes on this, so I might have had a few of those mixed in the order wise. But that's 20 films right there, and that's just scratching the surface, guys. There's so many more films that are going to come out that I think it's a year you want to pay attention to. And I think what Dan said, it could be a good year at the box office, but I think it could be also a good year just from a entertainment value and whether it be just pure entertainment, critical acclaim, whatever. I feel like it has a little for everybody and a lot for science fiction fans. There's that for sure. Any other final thoughts, Dan?
No, that's it. We want to kind of give a heads up of where we are headed next, because we're going to take a look into the past before we go forward into the future.
Yes. That's what we do. We talk about films at the beginning of the year that are going to be current, and then we spend the rest of the year not talking about current films. So that's what happens when you're parents and you can't get to the theater very often. Yeah. So we might throw in the occasional actual review of 2026 films as Dan and I are both able to see things, whether it be streaming or whatever. We'll try to sprinkle a few of those in there. We're also going to sprinkle in a few probably fun movie game or fun like episodes here and there, but we're going to do similar to what we have done this past year, where we're going to do a spotlight look. So last year you got to see us do the Alfred Hitchcock retrospective, and we followed that up with the Cary Grant series. So we're going to do another thing that's going to look back into the past. Dan, do you want to reveal where we're going in 2026?
We're going to go to the Old West, check out some Westerns. I think it's a genre, we've been talking about doing this for such a long time, for many years. And I think we're finally going to try to do it. think it's one that we both have a lot of blind spots for. And I've seen some, but there's so many classic westerns we have not caught up with. So we're looking to kind of hash things out. But I'm pretty sure next week we're going to start with what is probably known as maybe the movie, not maybe one of the more influential films that helped kind of set the stage for what to expect with musicals, what to expect with westerns, that being Stagecoach by John Ford, a movie I have never seen before. Kevin, I don't think you have either, right?
No, I have not either.
Okay, and it's streaming pretty much everywhere. So it's Tubi, HBO, Amazon. So if you want to see it, it's available. It's really easy to get to. So if there are certain westerns that you think we should cover, especially those that are like not the norm that you always hear about, but even some of those I haven't seen. So we shall see.
And we're gonna bounce around a little bit. So we'll do some of like the foundation, or like the ones that kind of set the genre, going. Where we might go through some of the revisionist westerns, maybe some spaghetti westerns, maybe some modern westerns. So we're going to try to like jump all over the place and hit like a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, it's a good chance for Dan and I both to cross off a few blind spots from our list and to see. I've always been a fan of the genre, but I guess at arm's length, because I have never like just gone into it and seen everything I could see. But I was a huge fan of Western TV shows and just the idea of Western. I think I dressed up as a cowboy for Halloween probably multiple years when I was growing up, just because I thought that genre was just fantastic. So I feel like now, all these years later, I'm actually going to start watching all of the films that people have always lauded in this genre to see what we make of them. So I think it's going to be a fun journey, Dan.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Catch up with with the Cary Grant films and Alfred Hitchcock. Got to watch some films I needed to watch and rewatch a few that I haven't in a while, and I think that'll be the case here once again. So,
and maybe it can have a similar effect like the Cary Grant series did, because I'm still watching those films. I think I got about 11 left on my list, Dan. So once I'm all said and done, I think I'll be about at 40 or 50 that I watched there. But that's what happens. So maybe I'll go on a string and I'll be watching like every Western film that came out from. Didn't John Hughes do or not John Hughes?
John Ford.
John Ford did a bunch of them. Maybe I go on a John Wayne train and see a bunch of those. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they made like a movie a day back then, and they're all like 4 hours long. So that's the one. The one downside is that they're always really. I think Stagecoach isn't too long because it's only like 95 minutes, but so many, especially
starting off good.
Spaghetti westerns are like really long. So
yeah, definitely give us your take on which ones we for sure should be seeing during the spotlight. You can reach out to us on all the different social medias, whether you search out the Cinema Geeks or Cinema Geekcast as far as the show name, or you can search out myself at Optimus Solo, or Dan. How can they reach you?
I'm pretty much Comic Concierge on all the different social media platforms, although I did actually end up deactivating my X or Twitter, so find me on like Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook. So,
all right, so that does it for this episode. Tune in next time for another chance to listen to more of the Cinema Geeks.